everybody. It's Safi and Marco Dish on the Movies. We are on our very last Vincent Price movie for Vincent Price Week, and it is called The House of Long Shadows. And it was made in 1983 in England, and it is classified as a comedy horror film, which I don't see either one of those characteristics in it.
There was a lot of attempts at comedy through little one-liners like, "Oh, you're talking like that girl from that one movie," and "Oh, this is exactly like that one movie," and like that was the quote comedy part.
And I don't even know what movie they were talking about. But
well, they mentioned the actual movies, but yeah, I did think it was funny at first when he said he just said generic. He literally said, "I know how this goes. I saw the movie," as if it's like.
oh.
I was like, "What the f?" Like, I saw the movie. Which one? And so I thought that was funny. That one line.
And to give credit to, it was based on a 1913 Seven Keys to Baldpate by Earl Durr Biggers. And apparently a lot of other things were made from this book. And I don't know what they are, but it was very popular with movie makers, etc. So the stars in it were Desi Arnaz Jr. as Ken McGee, a writer, Peter Cushing as Sebastian Grisbane, Vincent Price, Lionel Grisbane, John Carradine as Lord Elijah Grisbane, Christopher Lee as Corrigan Roderick Grisbane, Sheila Keith as Victoria Grisbane, and Julie Peasgood as Mary Norton. Now, there were a few other stars, but these were the ones that were the headlining, or they had the biggest parts, and I wanted to mention a few of them, even though they were very minor compared to the big names. I mean, well, I'll talk about it later, but I wanted to make sure that they were in here.
What was her name, too?
Peasgood. It's like she's a British girl. And they have a lot of weird names. I've been reading a lot of British mysteries in the last month, and the names are Prigglesworth and all kinds of weird. But I mean, I shouldn't say that because it's just weird. Okay, while Marco is busily laughing, our last Vincent Price movie, Vincent Price. Like I said before, Vincent Price worked on movies, TV shows, and various other projects that included his love and well-known expertise in art and cooking. This movie represents the 80s decade. The House of Long Shadows really represents a group project of a cast of headliner horror actors. And I already mentioned who they were. I'll say them again. Vincent Price, Peter Cushing, John Carradine, and Christopher Lee. The other notable stars I've already talked about. Sheila Keith, their sister, is Victoria Grisbane, and Desi Arnaz is Ken McGee, or McGee, sorry, and Julie Peasgood as Mary Norton. And then you say Desi Arnaz Jr.? You mean little Ricky who played on a set of drums in his parents' apartment on TV? Yep, that's him. I had never seen him before in anything but in his mom and dad's famous iconic show, I Love Lucy. Truthfully, he's not that great in this movie, a very lightweight performance. I'm not sure how he got the part. The movie was made in England. It could have been a favor to someone, or maybe he always wanted to meet these famous people and work with them on some project. I don't know. The movie is about the Grisbane family who meets for a reunion of sorts in an old, possibly haunted family mansion. Desi Arnaz Jr. plays a writer, Ken McGee, who has made a $10,000 deal with his agent that he could be in this old haunted house all by himself and write a good novel in just 24 hours. Not even a week, just 24 hours. At first, neither knows about the other. And what happens when they meet? Will Kim McGee be able to write his novel? There's two humongous twists in the end, and I only figured out one of them. This plot twist, a couple of them, made this movie a pretty good one, at least better than all of the other Vincent Price movies we watched for the special week. And Vincent Price didn't even have that big of a part. Sorry, that's my sports notification. Go ahead, Marco.
Well, I would say that this movie's really more of a Christopher Lee movie than a Vincent Price or an anything movie. I would say that like the one thing, if you could take away anything, it's that Christopher Lee is really good. But the one thing, sadly, that I took away was, wow, we really missed out on some great Dracula movies. Because the thing is, I've always had this problem with the Dracula movies of him not talking, him just being this silent, ghoulish monster. I've always hated that, and I liked it in some parts because it was almost like he was so like thirsty for blood that he just didn't even want to talk. He just wanted to kill, and I liked that in some scenes, but not for the whole movie. But in this movie, he talks the whole movie, and I thought, wow, great, Dracula's talking, because basically I think that the people who made this movie, they definitely love Dracula, and this movie is like a tribute to him. Why are you doing that, Safi?
That's my hand hurts.
Don't do that. And so Christopher Lee, I mean, even with his entrance into the movie, which was like an hour in, like over half of the movie, with his entrance, he enters in the movie like Dracula, and then at one point he puts on a cape. I mean, he puts on a jacket, but it's like he's putting on a cape. And it's like, this is just Dracula. And he does a really good job. I mean, this is probably one of his best performances from all that I've seen, because in, like, the Dracula movies, he doesn't talk. I would say, what do you think? Is it better than Two Faces of Dr. Jekyll? His performance in that one? Yeah, you forgot about that.
No, I didn't forget about it at all. I'm just trying to think.
In terms of performance.
Well, he was at a different age, that's for sure.
That doesn't mean anything.
It does, because the kind of part he played in that other movie, the Two Faces of Dr. Jekyll, he was like a young cad. In this one, he played an older person who's been around the block a few times, and he was very wise and knowledgeable. And it was a kind of different part, but both of them, he gave a good performance. And
I would say he did better in this one. What do you think?
Maybe he had more of a part, I guess, a bigger part. That might have something to do with it, because thinking back on it, I think he did have a bigger part in this movie. But I enjoyed his performance in this. It's kind of surprising, like you said, because usually the movies we watch, he either quickly goes after somebody and he doesn't say much, or they always show a quick visual, like right in your face visual of his red eyes. And they'll play this music, and then whoever he's with is toast. So this one, he's more of a human being and has a part and is wise and concerned and everything else. I mean, I mentioned in my review that he and that Julie Peasgood, who's this little blonde girl who kind of plays with as a co-star next to Desi Arnaz Jr., she and Christopher Lee had, I think, the best lines and the best and biggest roles.
Yeah, I would say besides Christopher Lee, she does the best job at acting. So it's basically, if you want to watch the best of both of them, which she basically hasn't done anything else worthwhile.
Well, she's
Uh,
done things worthwhile, but she writes for a living with her husband.
that doesn't count anything in the movie world, Safi.
Well,
Uh,
she's not a
so
dummy.
well, she hasn't done anything good besides this. So
Okay,
that's
whatever.
just a fact, Safi. So shut up.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
Oh, God.
A certain commenter on the Alien of season 2 finale said that I'm being too mean to you,
Oh,
and so I'm gonna start uh, giving you special treatment apparently because I shouldn't be mean to you in videos and so
whatever. We're not anywhere near the same age because I'm his mother, and we just have different views, and that's okay. We're okay with that. And he
yeah.
watches a lot more movies. I have a lot more responsibilities.
and,
I have a resale business, for
and
example.
and Julia P's good.
So anyway, oh my God. So, oh Lord. So anyway, I want to mention too that the other actors, the more famous ones, they I would say they're kind of like sleepwalking their parts. They
Well,
all not that I'm not saying anything against them, like they're bad acting or anything in this movie. It's just that their parts aren't that big, and they have played in a lot, probably combined together. I don't know, well over 100 more movies, and they
Peter Cushing, I would say Peter Cushing does a good job near the end when he starts to feel more remorseful and guilty. I think that he was doing a good job near the end, but he looked like he was dying. Like he was walking around, he was shaking, he was barely able to pour his drink. Like,
I just thought they seemed like the
and
roles were so insignificant that they could be sleepwalking in doing the roles.
but it would really have been better if they were better in the roles because the horror of the film is supposed to be that they're these creepy people in a creepy mansion, and so it doesn't work unless they're doing a good job. And then we get to Jack Palance. I mean,
Robert
J-
Michael.
John Carradine, John Carradine, and, and Jack Palance is who I thought he was for some reason, and and so,
I knew it wasn't, but
I think he
like
looks like him a little bit though in this movie. Like he has that dark hair and everything, but he looks literally like he's dead. I mean, he literally looks like someone's working him with puppet stuff. Like he has a puppet master, you could say, because I mean he just there's one trivia that I found where it said that in one scene where it's like a talking scene, he actually fell asleep while they were filming, and like you do, Safi, and when you watch things at night, and so he was asleep while they were filming, and I was like, I could tell like he was just terrible in this movie, but he wasn't as bad as Desi Arnaz Jr.
well, I just don't think Desi Arnaz Jr. isn't a good actor.
Yeah, he didn't deserve this movie. He got it because of nepotism, favoritism, all that shit.
Well, I don't know why, but like I said, it's a mystery to me. But Marco actually suggested while we were just talking about it before this review that maybe they didn't know who to put in there. And he's there and he was able to do the role, he could memorize lines, and therefore they gave it to him. And
Well, I said maybe it's because of his quote comedic background from being on shows with his
oh,
mom.
that's
Like,
true.
he's.
Timing.
But the thing is that he's not really a comedic actor,
No.
and like he's terrible. He's just sorry. He's terrible. He delivers his lines horribly, and he's so unbelievable as a writer. I mean, he's not a writer.
Yeah,
He
that's
looks like a college kid or something.
Well, I just thought he looked like a spoiled playboy.
or like a frat boy or something like that, that would get killed off like the first kill. And so, in my opinion, since the main character is supposed to be a writer, I think that it would have been a lot better if they had gotten an actual horror writer.
Yeah,
And
that would have been fun.
and so I think it would have been better if they got like Stephen King or R.L. Stein or someone like that. And I think that would have made the movie even better. Because I actually really like this movie. I haven't really been criticizing it. I've just been like saying like what doesn't work and what does. Christopher Lee works, Julia Peasgood works, and the twists work. The writing is pretty good near the end. I mean, the thing is that this movie's a lot like Knives Out, in that it's all about this like family that all hate each other. They're all like, well, they don't really hate each other, but they start hating each other because of disagreements, and so it really reminded me of that. And Knives Out, spoiler alert, at the end of Knives Out, basically nothing happens. I mean, it's a shitty ending. It's terrible. You think there's going to be 20 more minutes where the family come back to kill the main character. And that's what I thought would happen. Well, in this movie, guess what happens? At the end of the movie, the family starts killing each other really, really quickly. And I thought, wow, this movie literally did what I wanted Knives Out to do. And so I applaud this movie for doing that. I also think it's a great Halloweeny type of movie,
Yeah.
like a fun movie you could watch on Halloween, something like that. There's a little bit too many sequences of people just walking around at the beginning, though. Where just walking around with silence, just looking at things like that was kind of boring. And so it really took an hour for the movie to get interesting. And you notice I haven't even mentioned Vincent Price because Vincent Price uh, is really mediocre in this movie.
We had a very small part, and like I said,
Yeah.
he and the rest of them, except for Christopher Lee and that
Yeah.
girl, they could have memorized the lines of Sleptwalk and done their parts. And it's nothing against them. It just they weren't given the opportunity to do anything more than what they did.
I don't know if they could handle it though.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Especially John Carradine sitting there looking like he passed away already. Like it's Weekend at Bernie's. Okay,
Oh boy.
okay, Safi, what would you rate this? Oh yeah, how would you rank Vincent Price movies we watched? We watched Shock, House of Wax, Doctor Phibes, Doctor Phibes Rises Again, and then this. Personally, oh yeah, and you watched Tomb of Ligeia.
Yeah. Well, I would say this is the best one. So that's number one.
And the Tomb of Ligeia is the second best.
No,
right?
worst. The worst one was Tomb of Ligeia, and then the next one I think would be The House of Wax, and then Doctor Phibes and Doctor Phibe Rises Again, and then
This.
what?
This.
No, I said this was
Oh,
first.
what about Shock? Where
Shock?
was Shock go?
Shock.
That's second place?
No, I just said first place is this
Okay.
movie.
Okay.
Second place is
Dr. Phibes Rises Again?
no, The House of Wax.
Oh.
Third one is Dr. Phibes.
Okay.
Yeah. The fourth one is Dr. Phibes Rises Again. Then Shock. And the last one would be The Tomb of Ligeia.
Well, I would rank them like this from worst to best. I would say the worst is Shock, and then the second worst is House of Wax because of all those extended, boring sequences where he's just walking around London, not talking, killing people. It's just boring as hell.
I just thought it was very elaborate and.
Well, it was great at the beginning, at the end, but that whole middle section was terrible.
And then the fact that it was a little bit scarier Vincent Price is supposed to be like a horror actor, and so when you watch a movie, you want there to be something horror in it.
And
And
then after House of Wax, I would put Doctor Fives Rises Again because I think that, and then I would put in second place Doctor Fives. I changed my mind about that when with the Doctor Fives thing because
yeah,
I think the last 30 minutes of the first Doctor Fives is better than anything in the entirety of Doctor Fives Rises Again. And I think it's retarded that there hasn't been a third Doctor Fives movie. And then my number one is House of Long Shadows, of course,
yeah,
which I don't know why it was named House of Long Shadows because that has nothing to do with the movie. I mean,
no,
there's nothing in
nothing,
the movie that is
nothing.
nothing.
Let's. Well, I can't. I'm not gonna say anything to spoil. It might have one thing to do with it, but I
Well,
never heard it. If he wrote a book, and we're not gonna say yet or at all.
they should have called it the title of the book that he wrote,
Yeah,
Midnight
yeah.
Manor.
That's what. Oh, yeah. Well, that's whatever. That's usually when you write something, and I've had this because I wrote for the newspaper, several newspapers, that you usually include something from the book into the title, even if it's just one word. And there wasn't anything in here except the word house. And that's just, I mean, that I'm talking about more of a meaningful word than just, it could have been a shack for all we know, but anyway.
I guess when there's a certain kill scene towards the end, and that kill scene is so graphic and violent that all they do is show the shadows,
Uh,
and also, well, I'm not going to spoil it, but I guess you could say that is the long shadows, but I don't. That's stupid.
we're
So,
stretching for it.
what would you rate this movie, Safi?
Okay, well, I give it like a B, but we do food ratings, and so what just for me what saved the movie, because I think if it wouldn't have been like this, it would have been a crappy movie. It would have been negligible, and neither one of us would have had it as number one on our
Yeah.
list of movies. But it had two major plot twists in the end. I didn't even get one, and I don't know why, because I'm really usually good at that. But
She was falling asleep, everybody.
no, I wasn't.
Yeah, you were. You're falling. You weren't paying attention. You're falling asleep.
Well, anyway,
I saw her watching, so I would know.
I think that's what made, because they're really big twists, and they make the movie fun, and that's what I like. One thing I like when even reading a book is something unexpected and a twist that they're just fun because you don't expect them and you don't know what they are, and you when they happen you're like, oh wow, and you're surprised. I like that. And and it seemed really, I don't know, fun. It seemed like a kind of a fun movie, and so that's what made it good for me. And my food rating is, I gave it a scoop of vanilla ice cream with 2 spoonfuls of chocolate sauce on top, because it is a very, it's not a heavy movie like some of these others we've watched have been very heavy and kind of boring, and this one was lighter. I didn't see anything comedy or that scary about it, but it was just I like twists and unexpected things happening. That's just my one of my favorite things. So that's what I gave it. So how about you, Marco? Did you decide what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I did that a long time ago, Safi. While you were looking up Julia and her horrible career, where she didn't do anything else besides this.
What are you talking about? She's a writer.
She pees good and she writes good.
Hmm.
Okay, I would rate this. Seriously, I would rate this. I think that this reminded me a lot of a hotel breakfast, where you go to like a hotel breakfast buffet, and and you get like everything that they have, and then some of the stuff is good, some of the stuff isn't good, but it's good overall because it's free, and it's a hotel breakfast, and it's like you know you don't really eat that way usually at home where you have this big huge breakfast with all this different stuff, and it's like a bunch of iconic things, just like these actors are all iconic actors. So you'd have like your eggs, and maybe that would be a Vincent Price, and it works because in the Batman series he played Eggman.
Oh.
Excuse me. And then I would say that the pancakes of this movie is Christopher Lee, and then I would say because my favorite part, I would say my favorite breakfast foods would probably be pancakes and then sausage, good sausage, and so I would say the pancakes are Christopher Lee. They're clearly the star, and then I would say Julia Peasgood is the is the sausage, and and then and then the orange juice, which I hate having like a gigantic glass of orange juice with breakfast, especially when it has pulp in it. And so I would say the orange juice with pulp is Desi Arnaz Jr. And then I would say that something that I really don't care about at all at breakfast is bacon. Like I think that bacon is really overrated. But I don't think Peter Cushing is overrated. But I would say Peter Cushing is the bacon. He's just there, and he might get stronger toward the end of the meal when you dip him in the maple syrup. And then I would say something that I do not care about at all is the oatmeal.
That's my favorite.
That's what Safi's favorite is. And, you know, Safi falls asleep a lot, just like this guy. And I would say the oatmeal of this movie is John Carradine. John Carradine. I mean, he's just dead in this movie. He should have played a corpse or something. Like he would have been perfect in a Texas Chainsaw. You remember Texas Chainsaw with
Yeah.
the grandpa?
Oh, ew.
You know the one who just
Gross.
the one who just sits there, and then he's like kill her, and with the hammer, and he's just like ugh. He keeps on dropping the hammer. That's John Carradine. He's just does a terrible job, and it's too bad because he played a really good Dracula. But yeah, I would say he's the oatmeal. So that's what I would rate this meal. I rate a big hotel breakfast.
Okay.
Because it's also like a hotel movie too. Like a movie that you'd see on the television in a hotel, and you're like, oh, I'll watch this. Since I'm whatever. That's the twist. Is that it's also a hotel movie besides also being, and the twists in this movie are really good. I think the twists really elevated this movie to another level. If the movie didn't have the twists, it would not have been as good.
No,
So
that probably would have been near the last place.
that's it. I don't have any spoilers to talk about. So
Okay, well, I just have one more thing to say, and that I did say at the beginning and throughout that Vincent Price wrote this cookbook. Well, he not only wrote this one, he wrote several because he was well known as like a gourmet cook, which really shocked me. So we're going to still try to find one of his recipes and make it, and we'll make a video about it. I tried once, but it had to do with the oven, and I can't really say, I don't want to say any final comment about what we got because it might not have turned out the way it was supposed to because of the oven. We've had a lot of trouble with our oven for a long time, and we have to get it fixed before the holidays. And,
well, I really like that blueberry pie.
Yeah, it was a
the
blueberry
filling,
pie.
The filling, because what Safi did was she ignored the crust recipe in the recipe book, and she just made the filling like the recipe book.
Well,
And so I really liked the filling part of it. The filling was actually really good.
what happens is for pie crust, I don't know if anybody else has this problem, but it never turns out the same way twice. But most of them, most of the pie crust recipes, but this one is called a butter crust, and I've made it a million times, and it's the most reliable. But the oven temperature was not, it kept changing, and I think that affected and the way they had, well, there were some other things too in the recipe, the way it was written. I've never seen that with any other pie, and I don't know if I agree with it. The way they set the temperature, it just doesn't make any sense. Not with anything
The
I've ever
the
made.
cooking doesn't matter. What matters is the ingredients. The
Well,
fact that
the
the
filling is very easy. You know, they have a lot of
the
cans of pie fillings at the grocery store. You could use that, but this is
no,
almost
this
as
was
easy.
much better.
Well, I was gonna say this is almost as easy, really, as opening up a can and pouring it into the pie shelf.
What would you rate Tomb of Ligeia? I'm just kidding. Okay, that's it. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.